Hello, testing. Testing my audio to see if it's good. Okay, cool. That works. All right, so to get back into it, I am working on level design for my open world. Specifically, I am starting to build out road networks on this large portion of the island that is basically undone. And specifically, what I'm working on is a tunnel system, which is this right here. So just to bring back up my reference, let me find that. So this is the inspiration for this tunnel. So we can see we have this nice high detail model at the front. And then we have an interior tunnel with a bunch of stuff on it. But really, I'm kind of breaking it down into the bare essentials, and then I'll build up the details later. And that's kind of what I'm going for. So when I started, I created this little archway. And if we disable that, we can see that I just have a standard Unity terrain. Hello, thank you for joining. So basically I just cut a hole in the terrain. This is using just Unity's new terrain hole system. I have a microsplat shader which supports that. And yeah, that's about it from the terrain and the hole perspective. And then this archway kind of hides those bad edges that are hard to really do anything with. Inside of the tunnel, I have a path spline. So this is just a spline computer. I'm using DreamTech splines. And then I have a spline mesh for the tunnel and for the tunnel ground. And both of these are using the actual path spline that I've created. I also have a spline computer and a spline mesh for the east and the west roads. So what I've done last night is I created a script that will allow me to, let me just kind of demonstrate this right now. So I'm going to disable the terrain so we can see the tunnel a little bit better. So I'm actually using some fairly primitive shapes that are just UV'd and textured for the road, and it's just being extruded, and that's how I'm creating this geometry. So what I created last night, let me go ahead and demonstrate how this works. So the tunnel roof and walls and the floor, well, the roof and the walls are the same mesh, and the floor is another mesh. And when I move the spline, both of those meshes get updated, but the roads don't get updated. So I ended up creating a simple script. I just called it subsplines. And I basically access some of the DreamTech Splines API to do this. Anyway, let me just go ahead and kind of hook it up. Oh, of course there's errors. So I'm just gonna set it to update, and that's probably gonna fix the errors. Oh, actually I need to fix that movement I did. Okay. So this is not going to be done at runtime. So I don't care if there's like some random errors. My point is that now with the subsplines script, I can attach the parent spline, and then I could populate the subsplines array. And here I will put the east road. And I will also add the west road. Okay, so now I'm just going to enable auto update. Notice the roads kind of like snapped, and what they did was they aligned their spline to match the parent spline, which is the path spline. So now when I adjust the path spline, the road is updated with it, which is pretty cool because this will allow me to create a custom shaped tunnel that's spline based, and I could have the road, the ground, and the walls and roof updated with it. Now another thing that I added to this was a point offset system, and I hooked up a little bit of editor functionality to this. So if I enable can edit, I get these control points, and this will allow me to why is it not working right? Oh, because I have to save the offset. Okay, there we go. Let me just undo some of those. Okay, so now I can create an offset for this road, which will allow me to put like a barrier in the middle. And let me go ahead and do the same thing for the opposite side. And I'll probably be dialing in some values specifically in these point offsets. That way they could just be more consistent and controlled. This is just to kind of get a feel for what's going on. So now when I adjust the path spline, the roads, they keep their offset, which is very cool. And this will allow me to just do a little bit more. Let me disable can edit so I get rid of those other transforms. So I don't know exactly what kind of shape I want this initial tunnel to have. I think I'm going to have multiple tunnels. And that's kind of basically where I'm at this point. So I have a pretty primitive working tunnel spline system where I could just define the road however I like, and everything updates. So now I guess it's just time to use it. So I'm not really going to worry about the path offset right now. And there is a little bit of an issue with the ground. If the curvature is a little too high, the road sits above the ground. So I need to put some type of border around that. But as far as me being able to create a tunnel system, I think it's all working right now. Now I guess the main task is to just build this tunnel out, connect it to this road somewhere. And yeah, so that's basically where I'm at right now. So let me go ahead and enable the terrain so I could kind of figure out where I want this tunnel to exit at. And I think I have some fake water in here. Let me see where the water line is. I kind of feel like I'd like the tunnel to exit over here under this road up here and have some kind of turnabout over here. at least for now. I feel like it can change later, and I also want the tunnel to split off. But I think just creating an exit point, I'd like to have a network of roads underground. I think that would be very cool. Anyway, so let me grab this path spline and just kind of bring it out to an exit point. And I'm not going to worry about what the middle section looks like right now. At this point, I'm just creating the endpoints. Well, it's nothing like the shape that I want it to have, at least not yet. But it's a starting point. So now I can go ahead and think, let me actually figure out what kind of turnaround piece I want to hook this up to. I have a I bought this pack from Phase Squad on the Unity store, and there's a bunch of cool little pieces. I've used some of these in different areas of my city. Not sure how well you can see this, but basically just some highway pieces. I think something like that can do. And the shape of this road on the perimeter of the island is not like nailed down in stone. I think I'm just going to start with that one that I looked at. Yep, here we go. And let me find another one that I have in the scene because I need to change the scale. The artist modeled them a little too large. 0.3. So the road will basically come out here. It'll have this turnaround ramp so the player can easily turn around and go in the opposite direction. Maybe there will be a race where that's what he's doing. He's racing to the end of the tunnel one way, goes around this ramp, and then comes back another way. Not sure yet. Then I have another piece that I actually exported the other day. This piece right here. Still has a Pro Builder script attached to it. Thought I exported that. Should I export this one? Okay, cool. This is an actual finished mesh. I've been a little sloppy with my level design since coming back to this project, like specifically in the content creation perspective. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to need to come in and clean this up a little bit. But what I want to do is I want to take this road section and I want to bring it over to the other side. And I want to also, let me just go ahead and do this. So I'll duplicate this, pull it down to the bottom and disable it. And I'll also, right now I'm just trying to keep myself organized because there's a few different separate pieces that I need. Let me duplicate that, disable it. And let's do the same for this one. I think this is the last one. No, there's two. All right, so that I have all of the pieces found. Let me get rid of this Pro Builder window. I don't need that. Unity didn't like me getting rid of that. Oh, Unity. Okay, that fixed it. Okay, so let me just re-enable the originals. That way this road section is not broken. And for these pieces, I will also re-enable. And okay, so the pivot is all the way over there, unfortunately. Thought I fixed this last time I did that. I'm just gonna take another shortcut. I'm gonna have to fix this again later. But what I will do here is I will actually reopen the Pro Builder window. Where's it at? And I need to Pro Builderize these. Okay, and I will then center the pivot and freeze the transform. No, I got to do that at the end. So center the pivot. Move all of those back to 0. Center the pivot again. Freeze the transform. I'll just do this until... Hey, welcome. What's up, Mikey? All right. Cool. So they are all at world 0. I feel like I'm going to use this three-way intersection a lot more, and I need to actually export it properly. So I will make a folder for it, and let me just export these. That way I could reuse this object. Before I do that, though, see how broken all of these UVs are. Yeah. Okay, so let me undo some stuff. So much stuff done here. I gotta disable this. All of these decals that are down here, they need to be fixed. They're actually missing from the roads that they are part of. I have another scene with all of their correct positions all set up. I feel like I messed this up when I moved this. I'm actually gonna... I don't want to try to line those up by hand. Well, actually, I could probably just merge all of them, and I think I should, just for this intersection. That's probably the easiest thing to do. It's not what I want to do, but I think it's okay for one intersection. Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, one day Midnight Streets will be on Steam. I don't know when. I have, like, a whole open world to build, and then I have to, you know, hook up all of the actual gameplay content inside of that open world, so it's gonna be a little bit before it's anywhere. I don't like the idea that I just merged all this stuff. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I am going to create an empty game object. The center of this. I'm just going to move them as a group. You should try using version control. That way you can back up your project. I use Perforce, but I think you could use GitHub, and that's also free. Okay, I need all of the pivots to be centered for this object, and I need them to not have that position offset. So this is where I'm going to move this object to world 0. And from here, I will try to ignore all of this other decal stuff down here. I mean, that's not going to fix your current problem, though, like with the Unity errors, but at least if you do encounter an error, you can always go back to a previous version. I strongly recommend version control, specifically Perforce. That's what I use on a daily basis. Without Perforce, I don't think I could really easily work in Unity. It's a major part of my workflow. So like everything that's in my project right now is in version control, and all of these objects with the red checks, those all have changes. So let's say I broke my open world art scene. I could just right click that and select version control revert, and it'll go back to my last submitted version, which is pretty cool. Okay, so for all of these now, I'm gonna freeze their transforms. I'm gonna try to center their pivot. Doesn't look like they have any offsets. So now I should just be able to export these, and in theory they should work. And then I could use this 3-way intersection anywhere. So I don't know if I could export in batches. I'm gonna try it. The export OBJ. And these will go in the art 3-way intersection folder. Let's see. Sweet, it did all of them for me. That saves work. Cool. Okay, so now let me just disable this. And I will unpack those completely. Grab all the children. And I will create another empty, and this one will be called 3-way intersection. This one is going to be turned into a prefab. It's going to have all of these as the children. Now let's just set them up with their materials. Why did that one have a bunch of objects on it? Or materials on it? I think it's the yellow. I also made a free city that's available. It doesn't look as cool as Windridge City. I have a YouTube video about it. If you go through my recent YouTube videos that I posted, there's just a free city. It's the one that I distribute with my assets, and you could replace all of the buildings. It's got a pretty interesting road network. It's not super fancy, but it's something that can be used. Yeah, mine's kind of big. It's not super large, but it's it's definitely not small. And if you put some optimized buildings in there, you can make it look pretty unique. I saw somebody take my city and they actually extended it and they made a much larger map. So they used my city as a base. And then I think they used easy roads. I'm not sure which road system they used, but then they kind of did what I'm doing with this map and they made like a whole other area. I don't think they made it as big as I did, but they just took the city and they extended the roads on one side and the roads on another side to make this whole countryside. And then they had a huge area in the middle that they could kind of customize. So they basically used it as a starting point for their city, which is pretty cool. I do enjoy building like city scenes from scratch, but they take a lot of work. I will not lie. And for me, I don't mind it because it's a good learning experience. But I definitely wouldn't recommend it if you don't have to do it from scratch. Okay, so here's my new prefab. And I should be able to take this and just push it anywhere. No. I could take this piece all the way over here. Um, I spent a good amount of time working with Road Architect to learn it. I watched all of the video tutorials that they had, and I tried just about everything from their video tutorials. I did have some errors, but it did take a little bit of trial and error. I think the first time that I used it, I wasn't sold, and then I didn't use it for a few years. And every time I use Easy Roads, I always get errors, like literally when I first start clicking anything. So last time I tried Easy Roads, that happened, and I kind of just immediately went back to Road Architect because I never get errors from Road Architect, and I just feel like Easy Roads had a few more features than Road Architect, but I kind of just stuck with a really primitive road system. I didn't try to mix and match roads, and where I would mix and match roads, like 4 lanes with 2 lanes, I would kind of do some custom work with ProBuilder if I needed to. So I would ProBuilderize some of the meshes. Like if we go back and we look at any of the roads in my city, it was like a multi-phase process. So first I used Road Architect to create all of the roads. In this section over here, I didn't have a lot of nodes between each of the intersections, and that was an issue. So the more nodes you have on your road network, the better. And I feel like you want to have 2 nodes. Like, so on any given intersection, let's take this one for example. I feel like you want to have 4 nodes between these 2 intersections for the system to allow it to be working the way it should. So these like really short blocks that I have, I feel like they were hard to get perfect, if in summary. And I feel like the biggest thing that I could have done to improve that was to add more nodes in between. And that's actually what I had to do. So it took a lot of back and forth to get these small sections to work the way that I wanted. The larger road sections, those kind of seemed to work. But I really felt like it broke when there just weren't enough nodes in between intersections. And I also used version control. So once I would like do something with Road Architect and the network looked good, I would save the scene, submit it to version control, and then if I did something and it broke, I can just revert the scene. Because Road Architect kind of saves stuff in a different way too. Like inside of Road Architect, let's see, which is really weird, and I kind of wish it didn't do this, but I can't do anything about it. Inside of your projects folder, there's this GSD folder, and these are all of this is all of the data that Road Architects generates for each of its roads, and it's not really saved inside of like the assets directory or anything. So I've never actually opened those files and seen what's in there, but those would also be submitted to version control. That way, in case, like I said, I made a change that broke the road network, I would just be able to revert all of those. And I guess learning to work with all of the files that were part of Road Architect was the key for me. Let's see if I can click on your link. I don't know if I can. I'll check it out later after I'm done streaming. I think then it'll let me click on your name. But yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Okay, so back to this thing. So really quick, one of the things that I want to do is I want to move a Road Architect node because I was having issues with ProBuilder objects, specifically that intersection. As long as that stays there, Okay, cool. So I moved a road architect node and everything stayed where it should be. That's good. That was one of the bugs I experienced last time. And it was related to the pivot and freezing the transform. That's why I had to bring that object to world 0 before I exported it. So now I kind of just want to take these two objects, and my idea here is there'll be an intersection right here that will come up and connect to this, and I'll have another one right here come up and connect on this end, and that will allow traffic coming from the tunnel to get onto this road or in this direction or that direction, and it'll also allow traffic from here to get to the road. So then people will be able to take that tunnel from over here into like the heart of the downtown area. I think I'm gonna have to edit this with Pro Builder, because I believe maybe I'll do it this way. Yeah, because this was this edge right here is the one that I detailed to be able to come off the highway, I believe. I gotta go take a look at it. Yeah, it's that side. And I could re-UV some of it, but I don't want to. So I'm just going to use it the way that I've built it. And I'm not going to line this up perfectly right now. Mostly because I'm just blocking out. And I feel like anything really can change. So I think based on the shape that this currently is forming, probably going to do something like this. And then the actual intersection might be something like over here and connect that way. And that seems like basically what I want to do. Let me shape this terrain a little bit more. And for this tunnel, let's go ahead and actually just disable the terrain so we could see it better. And this water. Okay, that seems to be working. Now everything that happens in here, I need to play with a little bit. I have a feeling that I'm going to eventually create an intersection somewhere in this tunnel so that the roads can split off and go in different directions. So this tunnel will also be able to maybe let you out somewhere in the center of the map. But I am not going to do that just yet. And the UVs definitely need some work. There needs to be more points on the spline. How do I insert points again? Oh, it's a mode. Okay. Insert. There we go. Might be a few too many, but that's okay. I'll make the tunnel longer. Oh, what did I do there? What's that mesh? Did it just fix itself? Okay, let me save the scene because I just did a bunch of work. Let me get rid of this Pro Builder window. Oh, so DreamTech Splines does have some kind of error. That sucks. Hopefully it goes away. I really wish these had just regular transform handles. Oh, hey, there's a transform handle. I have no idea what I did to get that. I gotta read the docs a little bit more. That's still way too steep. I'm actually just going to set all of these at the same height. It's the easiest thing I can do, actually. then I could modify that later. I do want it to have some height variation, but it'll take a little bit of time to work out exactly how I'm going to achieve that. Okay, let's see what this looks like. We got tunnel coming through one end, coming out the other. I need to make the exit look a little better. Need to paint a hole in it, actually. Okay, so let me grab that arch I made. I think this is still a Pro Builder object. Those UVs look a little funky. Oh, I need the UV editor. Okay, there we go. All right, so I guess I'm just going to export this so I could create a prefab. Let me just see if I can find any more imperfections. I need to move this thing. It's too hard to... get down there. Yeah, the rest of them look good. Okay. So actually let me move this to world 0 and export it. Why do the UVs change? I center the pivot. Let me try to freeze the transform first. Okay, so I'll copy that position, reset it to 0. And now I'll export it. Oh, it looks like there's an issue with that UV. Is that correct? Or is that another object? No, I gotta fix that. Something I've done must have changed the UVs. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, there's my entrance arch. Let's make it a prefab so we can reuse it. You need to create a better prefabs folder. So these are all of the prefabs that are actually ready to use. All right, so now I will disable the old one. I got a lot of disabled Pro Builder stuff. I could probably just delete all of this, but I'm just gonna leave it there for now. Let's move this back to here. Looks good. And I can duplicate it now and pull it to the side. And this is just going to line up right at the edge of the other one. Okay, so now let me bring the terrain back up to cover this area. All right, and now I will just switch to paint hole mode. And let's paint some holes. I don't know what I'll do with this area. It's a different type of road than on the other side. The other side actually had concrete over there, so maybe I'll fill it in with concrete. Let's see. Yeah, I have a feeling that's what I'll do. Let me reshape this terrain a little bit more. Okay. right here for this little area, this is where I would like to have that new digger asset. But I think digger is overkill for this tunnel system. So I'm just trying to deal with these vertices that are showing. I wish I could just grab verts and like pull them up on the terrain. That would be cool. Still in paint mode? Oh no. Okay, now let me fill those holes. Well, Control Z doesn't seem to let me want to go back. The right side kind of came out perfect, but the left side just having issues with. Well, I guess I could. Hmm. What can I do? All of this. Let me just try to smooth, I guess, or paint white. To bring these verts up. Still filling holes. Well, that's okay. I'll deal with that. I really just want to grab those verts and just pull them up in there. That would be the most useful thing to do. I think I need to raise this height over here. Then I'll fix that later. Not that far. I think that was the answer. Okay, so now I should be able to just make these invisible. Much. And now I think I can just lower all of this. Make a little bit more invisible. There we go. Yay. That's not horrible. Not what I wanted to do. Anyway, I think this is good enough for right now. Let me just smooth it out a little bit. Okay, cool. So I got my tunnel entrance and my tunnel exit. Oh, so I actually had this different design for the entrance. On that side. Let's see what that means. I just did all that painting, so I don't want to change anything. Yeah, that. Well, let me try to fill in the holes. See what happens. Cool, that works. I like that. All right, let me submit all of this to version control. My eyes are playing tricks on me. Where's it at? I just realized the chat feed I was looking at hasn't been updated. So to answer the questions, am I working on a underground road network? Yes. I'm starting with the first tunnel and I'll add more pieces. The second question was, looks like I'm keeping busy. Yep, always busy. And you can always use a blending asset for the UVs. That could be polishing after the main blocking out of the level 2. Yeah, I agree. I think that I'm probably going to use that microsplat blending at some point. I'm just definitely trying to just make it look like all of the seams are where they should be. And I think I did that here. Oh, then you said never mind. I thought you meant blending with the terrain. Yeah, I was really just trying to make it so that I have a hole without holes in places that they shouldn't be. And right now, the only holes that I have are near the ground. So I can just like fill that with a little concrete slab or something a little bit later. But I recently grabbed that microsplat asset, and wow, is it really cool. I was previously using CTS, and I felt like CTS was really overwhelming. Whereas microsplat, like my biggest issue is tiling textures, and like the tiling was really bad, worse than what you see here. And I was able to kind of fix that pretty quickly. Like when you get close, like this you don't really see too much tiling here. And I could play with that module a little bit more, but microsplat is like fully modularized, and it also has a terrain blending module. And I definitely want to play with that a little bit. I don't know where I'm going to use it yet. Okay, anyway, let's get this all submitted. Do files, save project, save the scene, and switch over to Perforce. And submit it all. Let me just do a quick reconcile. Make sure everything's being tracked. And I'll be actually ending the stream pretty soon. I finished my major task, which was more implementing the road spline or the tunnel spline system that I'm creating, and just making it easy to create that underground tunnel. And then I created an exit point for the tunnel so I can continue building up and attaching it to the other side of the road network. Right. Scroll through this really quick. Wonder why those textures and materials get checked out. Actually, it's just materials. Finish tunnel layout system. Okay, so now that everything's saved, I kind of want to just come back in here and pull this together so that I can do a test drive. So those are the roads. So that's something that happened when I edited that. Okay, so I can adjust this someplace else. So let's see, these are, need this to clip a little bit because now it's not using its own spline, it's using something else. The system that I described at the start of the stream. So let's roughly have the clip right there to start with. And on the path spline, I will grab the subspline system. I need to see the point numbers. How do I display those? Okay, I'm just going to skip that for right now, actually. I don't feel like reading documentation. But I believe that it goes in the opposite direction. So okay, so those have, the roads themselves have their clip range offset. And here in the path spline, let me see. Yeah, it's at the opposite end. Oh, I need to change it to can edit. Okay. And save offset. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. Excuse me. So I can adjust the offset in this direction, and that could probably work. I really did not want to do that though. I want to keep the roads confined to the clip range and really only offset left and right and up and down. I don't want to do forward and back on the spline point offsets because I have a feeling I'll be resetting things from time to time. So back to these meshes. Play with this value a little bit. 8, 7, 6, 7, 6, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 8, 7. That looks good. Okay. I feel like that's actually good enough. So now I can just use these same offset values for, what's that, element 53 and 54 on the west road. 53 there. And I need to save offsets and can edit. All right, so now that road looks mostly okay. I need to put a little offset on it. Oops, wrong one. Okay, save that. And I know that the ground is not matching the road height. That's something that I'm still going to reapproach. But for right now, I feel like this is working. So let me just make sure all this stuff has a collider on it, and then I'll do a quick test. Okay, so roads have colliders. Tunnel ground does not have a collider. Let's give it one. And I don't think the walls have, oh, the walls do have one. Okay, cool. Okay, so this end looks good. Let me just go check that other end. Then I could do a test drive. Yeah, I need to bring that one up too. Now this one ends right on spot, so I can just bring that transform up in the path spline. That sucks that with this transform, it doesn't show the right pivot. There we go. Pivot orientation is the word that I was looking for. I feel that those are pretty close. All right. So now does this thing, I don't think it has colliders on it yet. It has animators on it. Wow. Was not expecting that. Interesting. People who publish road assets with animators instead of colliders. Just when you think you've seen it all. I'm not usually somebody that complains about not having colliders, but having animators instead of colliders, that's really weird. I think that's just being lazy. Okay, so I'll remove those. Okay. Now I'm just going to put colliders on all of the mesh. Which is overkill, but at least I could test drive my car in it. And what about this three-way intersection? I think I need to give that colliders too. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I am actually going to put the spawn point all the way over here. And the spawn point is in the main open world scene because I use an additive scene system to load the art. I like to keep my art and my code separate because like this art scene gets super big. So when I need to kind of mess with them both, like the art scene takes about 45 seconds to load. I think the regular open world scene takes about 10. Both of them have thousands of objects in them. Where's the spawn point? Here we go. Let's just select game object, move to view. Did it do it? Maybe. Yes, it did. All right. So in the next stream, I will actually be connecting these two road sections somewhere. I think I'm gonna give the tunnel system a little break for a bit. There's still a lot I want to do with it, but I don't want to focus only on the tunnel, especially since it's kind of just being early stages of the layout. Okay, let's save this scene now one last time. And we'll do a test drive. Oh wait, you know what? No, this is good enough. Oh wait, I'm sorry guys. This whole stream, I have not even been sharing my desktop, and nobody told me. Thanks guys. And I spawned in the wrong spot. I need to delete all the player press. So actually, like, for this whole stream, you guys didn't even really get to see what I was doing. I'll do a recap at the end. Right after this test drive. But basically, I created this tunnel system. And I connected it to the other side of the world. And things may be popping in and out because I probably have to rebake occlusion culling. So I need to add more like objects inside of this tunnel. I need lights, I need like air vents, probably some kind of barrier. The road and the ground are not the same height. There's a lot of things that I still need to fix. And somewhere in the middle of this tunnel, I think I'm going to split it into and have another intersection or junction. So this is where I come out of the tunnel. Whoa, there's some kind of collision issue. So this is the other side of the tunnel that I started on. And then this just kind of takes us into the open world. Hey, thanks. You stay awesome too, Connor. All right. And then I'll just drive through the city really quick so people who are new can kind of take a look at what the rest of it is. I fell off the bridge, unfortunately. Yeah, the car can drive up vertical walls in this game. Which kind of gives me ideas for other types of projects. Yeah, here's the open world city that I've kind of been prototyping with. I could drive into streetlights, they're interactive. And when you do, their lights go out, which is cool. And there's some traffic that drives around. I don't really have a whole lot to do in this open world yet. The biggest challenge is just building the open world. And this terrain got deformed. I have a saved version someplace else, but there's a lot of like this whole terrain section on this world was fully detailed so that there's like no weird jumps or physics glitches. But that got overwritten once I started using Road Architect and it was adjusting the terrain. I guess I had a different version saved in its cache. And I don't know how to clear the cache, and I didn't look. But anyway, I'm going to revert this section of the terrain back sometime in the near future. So this is the city. You guys got to see me drive around a little bit. I'll just do a quick recap of what I was actually doing since nobody was able to see. I probably should have paid a little bit more attention to that. I just started streaming, so I'm not 100% used to it. All right, I'm just waiting for this open world art scene to load, and then I'll do a quick recap and show you the spline system that I'm using to make the tunnel that I just drove through. Okay, so just to kind of summarize where we're at, about 9 months ago, I built this section of the island, which was what I was just driving through. It has trees and vegetation and buildings, and it's pretty optimized. It has traffic, a lot of road to drive on. It's not super big, but it's just one small section of the map. It's pretty big, but it's not huge. When I recently came back to this project, I created this outline or perimeter road so we can kind of come and zoom into that. The island itself is pretty big. My main goal right now is to fill up this other large landmass area with roads and just cool stuff to do. And once I'm done with all of the level design, or I should say the world design, then I'll start thinking about the actual game design and pushing that into place. But so my first step after laying out the perimeter was because the perimeter connects this bridge and this bridge. And then there's another bridge over here that goes into the terrain. So this is the tunnel, and we kind of just experience that. And what I'm using for the tunnel, let me go ahead and disable the terrain. We can see. Now, Road Architect is the road system that I'm using, but Road Architect only allows you to create roads on terrain. So unfortunately, I can't use it to create this tunnel, which is really sad. Unless I create another terrain inside of the tunnel, which actually just came to mind, but I don't know that I want to do that. I probably would have tried it had I not gone the route that I did. But what I ended up doing was I used Unity's new paint hole feature to paint a hole in this terrain. And then I created this entranceway arch to hide the edges. And inside for the actual road, I have this path spline. And what I've done here is I've made it so that if I adjust the path spline, the roads that are part of a spline are also being updated, and so are the walls and the ground, which is pretty cool. And then I also have this offset system. I wrote this, I'm using DreamTech splines. I wrote this subspline script, which gets attached to the parent, or it gets a reference from the parent spline, and then I can assign subsplines. And here I can enable an edit mode, and then I can, for example, I can offset these for all of the subsplines, and they will kind of just keep that offset. Let me find the other enable. So now that these have an offset, when I adjust the actual path spline, the roads keep that offset. So this will allow me to create some unique tunnels, which is kind of cool. Anyway, let me undo all of that. And that's basically what I've been up to. I think I'm going to take a break from this tunnel system for a while and kind of just block out some more of what I want to do with the rest of the above ground road network. I wouldn't say the rest of it, but a good amount of it. Well, anyway, that's about it. I've been on for about 2 hours, and I think I'm going to take a break for a little bit. So anybody who's watching, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next stream. Bye.